Good morning. I have had this continual problem with anger for 1,000,000 years.
And with exaggeration.
And exaggeration, right. And it feels good to be in this place, but it annoys everybody around me. And you were talking about building bridges. And I am desperate to build those bridges for other people to the point that I get angry at not being able to move them. And of course, I'm angriest at myself that I can't move me when I'm in that position. And worse, I can't explain it to my own wife. That is annoying beyond my ability to deal with it.
Well, it does make perfect sense to you, doesn't it? That if you feel powerless, that anger is a step in the right direction.
Oh, yes.
And so when you say that I've been there for 1,000,000 years, that must mean that when you have experienced the sublime of connection, as you often do, and you want it for others, you want it for yourself, but you want it for others. So this powerful teacher, in your observation of what's going on, has this passion to assist people into coming into alignment with who they really are. And when you see them not making an effort, you feel powerless. And that powerlessness then causes you to, as you are in powerlessness and Source calls you forward, you come to anger. And the reason that you feel that you've stayed in anger for so long is because you're not acknowledging that you're doing it on purpose, because you're not doing it on purpose. In other words, it's just a knee-jerk reaction that you get angry. And so you're not receiving the benefit of having moved in the right direction because you're not moving in the right direction on purpose. It's just happening to you. So then what happens is you get angry, and then they behave even more inappropriately, which makes you feel more powerless. There are so many people that get to anger and don't accept it as a step in the right direction because they've been trained to believe that anger is inappropriate. And that really is the answer to your question. You get to anger, which is an improvement, and Source is calling you there. Then you superimpose your own logic over it, and you condemn yourself for your anger. And then the anger continues to be, and then you feel more powerless again. And so it's just moving back and forth there rather than moving on up the emotional scale.
That's exactly what my wife says.
Well, she's right about it.
Yeah, I figured.
So the first thing that we want to say to you is, don't be angry about your anger. And we've said a lot for you here today in that if you make peace with where you are, but you also want to make peace with where they are. Until you acknowledge that in choosing anger you feel better, and stopping and patting yourself on the back and saying, well, it's a step in the right direction, you can't continue to take a step in the right direction. In other words, we know you can easily work through your revenge and rage and anger into something that feels much better, like frustration. So talk to us about these people who you want to help who won't listen.
That's the other part of it, is why do I have a passion to help these people? Why do I care? I feel like that's something wrong with me, that I should have to have that feeling.
In the same way that you have this impulse for food and water, you're born as an uplifter, and what it really is, we're going to hit it head on, you can't stand it when you be less than you have become. So when you're a teacher, born into an environment with a powerful intention to uplift, and you see people who want to know, and when you're not accomplishing that which you were born to accomplish, you take it hard. But your work is to tend to your vibration, and doing so through the clarity of your example, you'll be inspired to give them the right words. Almost everybody, when they look at someone thriving, feels better than when they look at someone suffering. And it's compounded when you look at someone suffering when you've been born to help relieve them from their suffering. So when you look at that condition of someone suffering who you can't help, these are conditions that you can't control, and you take it so hard. And that's why we're wanting you to understand that anytime anybody needs conditions to change so that they can feel better, you're in deep doo-doo. Yeah. Because what you're actually saying is, universe, in order for me to feel good, they've got to understand this, and they won't understand this. Therefore, I can't feel good. Therefore, I feel powerless, and I'm mad as hell about that. That's it in a nutshell. So now to rework this, let's say it through your Abraham perspective now. Universe, I was born as a teacher, and I love to teach. And I see someone who wants to know what I believe I could teach them. I could teach them how to feel better. I could teach them a better way. But they won't listen. And that makes me feel terrible. So now I will apply what I've learned to my own self, and I will feel better under these conditions. The question that we've been putting to you all today, and it's a question that we really think you would be well to ask yourselves many times in every day, is how can I feel happy under these conditions? Or even better, how can I feel better than I do under these conditions? How can I feel joyful? How can I feel happy? How can I feel better when this person is so unhappy with where he is and he won't listen to what I have to say? Well, I can feel happy because I know I'm not the only teacher on the planet. I can feel happy because I know that just because I know it doesn't mean I can superimpose it into him. I can feel happy because I know that words don't really teach. It is life experience that teaches. And he may be in the asking stage, not in the listening stage. I can feel happy because I know that there have been things that I couldn't get all at once that I got later on. So maybe this one will too. I can feel happy because I know I can keep coming at it again and again. I can feel happy because I know that this person isn't always in that strong place of despair. I can feel happy because I know that in time everything improves. I can feel happy because I know that the flow always flows toward well-being, and when any of us stop doing that thing we do that keeps us out of the flow, we'll start to flow.
If I understand, then if I am in the flow, then the words will come that allow this movement on the other person's part.
Yes, that's true in part. We want to rework that. First of all, when I'm in the flow, I won't feel pain that they're not. So what I might be really mad about is that I'm using them as my excuse not to be in the flow myself. In other words, that's why I feel disempowered. You see, when I'm connected, I'm empowered. When I'm not, I'm not. So when you are the object of my attention that's bringing about the anger, then you feel to me like you have power over me, because if you'd do something different, I'd feel better. They don't have to do anything different for you to feel better. And when you feel better anyway, now you have the power to inspire them.
It's hard for me to give up the need for my wife to be happy with our children, or our children to be happy with my wife, or to give up my needs for them.
Well, we understand that because you want others to be happy. But what we're asking you to do is to put a desire or a need, if you want to call it that, ahead of all of that, and that is your desire or need to be happy. So what you want to begin saying is, how can I be happy under these conditions? What is it about what we've got going on here that I can be happy anyway? And what we think you will be able to show yourself is that there are all kinds of degrees of happiness or unhappiness, and if you try a little, you can feel better regardless of what they're doing. True freedom is in the recognition that I can feel the way I choose regardless of what's happening. And everything else is bondage. Because if my happiness depends on anybody else doing anything different, as you have pointed out, you cannot control that, you see.
Right.
So, the non-physical part of you, we don't, from source, like to see people suffering. So we don't. You know what we see? They suffer, and in their suffering, they launch rockets, and we ride them. In other words, we immediately focus upon what their trouble has caused them to desire. And we become immediately immersed, wrapped around, involved in, vibrationally compliant with their desire. That's why we are the beckoning light for you to come there too, you see. So that's what you want to do. Give us an example of something that happens with your wife and children that sets you into that frenzy. Give us an example and we'll show you what we mean.
Well, my wife will be dissatisfied with my son's own kind of Salisbury experience. He's running his own school, and it doesn't meet neither my expectation or my wife's expectation of what he, quote unquote, should be learning. And we feel a need to help him. And of course, that's quite frustrating.
If we were visiting with him, our encouragement would be, run for your life.
Run, that's exactly right. Exactly right, because we have no idea what's really going on for him. Now, how do I communicate what we just said to my wife? To say, no, it's his life. We have to trust him enough to step back and believe in him. And that if we're happy, we will pull him to us, not the other way around.
Well, as parents, if you can understand that what your dominant role is, you want to help him to understand that he has guidance within him. But the thing that's interesting is he already knows it. It's you guys who forgot it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So what you want to remind yourself is that he's got his own vibrational relativity going on, and his life is causing him to become all of this, and he's on a quest to achieve that. And then he's got these two very well-meaning parents that are saying, no, not there, over here, over here, over here, over here. And it sounds to us that he's healthy enough and stubborn enough to say, buzz off, folks. In other words, that's why there's so much discomfort going on within you.
Exactly.
So now back to your question. So how do I help myself, or how do I help my mate be all right with that? We would start by making lists of positive aspects. We would acknowledge how powerful his mind is, and how when he focuses, how things always work out for him. And we would acknowledge that he's always been strong, and that he was born seeming to know who he was and what he wanted. And we would appreciate ourselves as parents, but we would appreciate him also as an individual. And we would begin to look for the positive aspects that are evident every day in his experience. We would activate within ourselves the very best of him. Jerry and Esther, someone talked about it already here today. They were in Asheville, and a friend brought them a book. And she had written in the book, Jerry, this will make your heart sing. And it was the book entitled Free at Last, about the Sudbury Valley School. So Jerry and Esther were on their way to Atlanta, and they read the book as they drove, and fell in love with it. Esther was crying. Her eyelashes were in her lap. They could not believe how wonderful this book made them feel. And they subsequently became very good friends with the founder of this school. And since then, Jerry and Esther have given away thousands of these books. And many, many Sudbury schools have sprung up all over the country as a result of their enthusiasm about the process. So it's a school that they're very excited about, that you and your wife would not be excited at all about, given what you have just said, because it's a school that says no one learns anything unless they have a sincere desire to know it. So there is a story in this Free at Last book where a father has come to learn about what's going on with his son at the school, and he is one more time expressing his concern because his son, who has been at the school for a while, still is doing nothing other than going to the fishing pond and fishing all day long. And he is really concerned about it because it seems to him that there should be all kinds of other things that could be offered there. And the founder of the school listens and understands concern. And now he has come the second year. He is there again expressing his concern. And Daniel says to him, you know, I've never known anyone who knows as much about fishing as your son does. I've never seen anyone apply themselves so completely, so diligently, with so much pleasure and so much of himself to any subject than your son is doing with this fishing. And I know that when he finds something else that he's equally interested in, he will apply himself in the same way, and he will get the same fabulous results. And this soothed the father. And before long, this young man turned his attention toward computers and now has his own very prosperous business at that. And so Daniel's instincts were right. And so that is what we would like to say to you as you look at your son. Look at the clarity and the passion of this youngster, and then acknowledge that when he applies himself to anything, that the universe will respond to him, unless he allows you to scatter his energy, unless he cares so much about what you think that he begins looking outside of himself and listening to someone like you or his mother, who can't possibly guide him in the way his source can, you see.
Yes.